What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic and excellent spirits here on another Wednesday live stream. As I posted up here, October the 22nd, year of our Lord 2025, delivering the latest and greatest of what's happening in the world of sports. And this is a special one because with the NBA season, the curtain being raised yesterday, we'll get into it from soup to nuts, anything and everything that we could possibly expect over the next, think about it, the marathon till the middle or even end of June began last night, whether it was in Oklahoma City or in LA. And we'll touch on those games briefly, but we'll have wall-to-wall NBA to kick us off. So to my guy, Vlado Popovich, I'm sure he'll probably join us in a few minutes here as we get set to embark on another live stream. I'll also talk about the Mariner meltdown in game number 7 there on Monday night. And even though your boy is hurting, and no, not necessarily hurting because of the game, hurting because I haven't had sleep, which is similar to the Mariner fan who has not slept, I'm sure, since Monday night, considering what their manager did in the, more importantly, in the 7th inning and even in the 5th inning for that matter, because again, trying to figure out the game before it's actually being played, as we talked about a million times here. But that will be discussed. Dodgers, Blue Jays, a little bit of a storyline preview there. And NFL Week 8, college football Week 9, NHL 2 weeks in. Yes, it is on and popping in the sports world, and you know I got you covered here on this Wednesday, October 22nd. As you know, I see a comment already in the room. Yes, good afternoon to you, my man, Cole. I hope all is well with you out there in the Midwest. And before I even get to the NBA, you know I got to do some housekeeping. So for starters, as always, share your thoughts in the room. To my regulars, you already know. But for those who are jumping on board for the first time, please feel free to chime in on whatever it is that's on your mind. Also, if there's something that you agree or disagree with, post that, and I'll make sure it's up on screen for everybody to see. And for those who are watching a replay, please leave a comment, even though you are not on live with me direct and in full effect. But obviously, whatever it is that it is on your mind, you could post it, and I'll be able to follow up with you at that time. And let's get right to it. Now, again, I'm hurting a little bit, people, so just bear with me as we get through this. But you know it's going to always be a good time here. Hey, Tatsuya. I know. I'm always curious whenever you come on. I'm sure you probably have an NBA Go Cavs, as he says there. And they play the Knicks tonight, and they're in the New York area for the next 48 hours plus, because they're also playing as you hear in the background. No, it's all right. If she barks, it's fine. As you hear Kismet throwing in her own 2 cents, and Lord knows part of the reason why your boy's hurting this morning, because she threw in not 2 cents, she threw in about 2,000 rusty cents into my system where I was up all night. Poor thing, she was sick, but at the same time, yeah, this is why your boy's injured here and is going to battle it out and gut it out a la Michael Jordan 97 finals, game 5 of that series against Utah. But Tatsuya, yes. And wait, who is the yes, I remember who the emoji is. Oh, not the emoji, the avatar. Because I remember you were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. But welcome aboard. I'm going to start with the NBA, though, because even though baseball I'll get to, we'll talk about game 7. We'll rehash that. Also, as well as the forthcoming series between the Dodgers and Blue Jays. And, of course, I'll get your comments once I get through a portion of this NBA season, or I should say this preview, because it is here. Kicked off last night. You had a very good first game. The second game, maybe not so much. But when you have a double overtime affair where the Oklahoma City defending their NBA championship from just, 4 months ago. I actually think it was 4 months to the day yesterday. Let me think about that. Because that Sunday, was it the 21st? It may have been, because I believe the first day of summer was officially on a Saturday. So that may have been June 21st, where you had the Thunder win a championship. And here it is now, full circle, for them to raise the banner, get their bling. And they were mano a mano with a Rocket team that was certainly game. And Kevin Durant, although he fouled out, which was pivotal, and he missed a big free throw. But for the Thunder to get off on a good note, which they did do so yesterday, in beating the Rockets. And I'll talk more about the Rockets a little bit later on, because what I'm going to do is give you my storylines, as well as I'm going to go through every team just to give you a theme for what to expect with these clubs as we get into it this year. But with the nightcap being Golden State and LA, let's see if Bio joins in a minute. I know I got some comments there, which I'll get to in a second. But for Bio, I'm sure he was hurting there a little bit. No LeBron, as we all know. But with the Lakers, obviously there's always expectations there, no matter who is on the roster, no matter who is injured, no matter what. So they got off to a bit of a slow start there where Jimmy Butler had a monster game. And here's the thing with Butler. He's not in Miami anymore. He can't play 55 games. A lot of the load management is he's been the recent poster boy for that. And of course, with Steph Curry, both of those guys, I don't want to say long in the tooth, but they're certainly not spring chickens anymore. And you want to throw in Draymond for that matter. And remember, there's no Moses Moody on the team, no Kevon Looney. Oh, Moses Moody is there. I got it mixed up. Kevon Looney is gone. And you got to see what Jonathan Kuminga is going to give you. And even though, as if you watched the game yesterday, Kuminga, you would think he's going to contribute big time on this team, and he has to, because you would think even with the wily veterans on the team, they can't carry the mail every night. You're going to have contributions from the younger players, and in particular Kuminga, because even with guys like Moses Moody and Gary Payton II and others, there's no way that for a team that is so talent laden with their veterans, and they're going to need to get some contributions. Brandon Podziemski's another one. This is a situation where Kuminga is really going to have to step up, and who knows? We saw what happened there, and I'm kind of getting to the Warriors at the moment, but which I want to save that when I go through all the teams. But last time was a situation where Golden State got off to a good start, and they needed to because, as we know, older team. Remember last year they got out of the gate pretty slow, and then even in the middle of the season they were laboring a bit before they, what were they? An 8th seed, and they didn't even qualify for the postseason when it was all said and done. So for them last night to get the win where, like I mentioned, Butler and Curry were big-time contributors, and even though Luka had 43, but certainly was not enough for them to beat the Warriors. And then we'll go through a little bit of the schedule later on, because today is obviously a full slate of games. Last night is the opener, similar to what you see in the NFL with their week one, where it's just a standalone game. But when you have the defending champs, it's always going to be the first game. And then you always have a nightcap, and they try to get Steph and LeBron. And with LeBron being out for a few more weeks with that sciatica, and who knows, and we'll get to the Lakers there in a little bit. But, and if you hear any construction in the background, you hear drilling, obviously that's nothing that I can control. So my apologies if that is happening to be coming through the microphone. But that's the life of living in an apartment building. So as you guys and gals surely know, when I've done either live streams or other podcasts in the past. Now, oh, look at that. And then Doncic with the groin. So that's going to be something. And that's going to be interesting too when we get to that. But let me, before I even get to my storylines, where's the tab here? Here we go. All right. I see the comments coming through. Val B, yes, I know you're happy about your Warriors. Wait, let me scroll up here. Tatsuya. I got you, Tatsuya. Hang on. All right, here we go. Cole, I got Cavs 1 seed, Knicks 2, Pistons 3, and the rest is up in the air, in my opinion. Yeah, the East is, and I'm going to get to that for sure, Cole, without question. And obviously, Tatsuya's a Cavs fan. Well, at least he's rooting for them tonight against the Knicks. Tatsuya is going to get a fat MLB pitching contract this offseason. Yes, I could see that. And it's all a matter of how much and where. Thank you, Val. Much appreciated. 2 NBA players on a mission this season, Kate Cunningham and Luka, both have something to prove, in my opinion, are going to be interesting. Wow, you thinking Cade could be in the MVP discussion? And I'm going to get to Luka too, because he's also going to be a big theme, and knowing with his groin. So who knows if that's going to hinder them here right out of the gate with he and no LeBron. Ooh. Remember the Lakers, what did they start? 2-10 that one year? I think it was 2 years ago. They started 2-10, and they did make it to the playoffs before losing to Denver. That was 2 years, I believe. Cole saying what's up to Val. And Val, yes, Sharks haven't won a game yet. And the only NHL winless team, and they lost to my Islanders last night. And another point for Matthew Schaefer, which I'll get to later on as well. And yes, Warriors did beat the Lakers, NBC, which of course that's another thing I want to discuss. And Val, all right, all the love. I love it from my usual suspects here in the room. All right, so now let's get to my top NBA storylines. The first one I want to get to, and even though they played last night, and like I mentioned yesterday, my predictions for the year, whether it's over under win totals or even NBA Finals predictions, because the 4 teams that were in action last night, they are not a part of that. So right there, it's going to raise your eyebrows to think, wait a minute. So Jay Reel's not going to pick OKC as far as over under win totals, where the Thunder are 62.5, number one by far. And then number two is that I have not picked the Thunder to go to a final this year, which is a little bit risky because one of the things about this Oklahoma City team is that with their championship last year, is this the beginning? I hate to use this word and say it, but the beginning of a dynasty. This team has their 3 big stars locked up in SGA, Chet Holmgren, and there's 2 Jalen Williams on the team. But it's the J-A-L-E-N, not the J-A-Y-L-I-N Williams. So the 3 guys there, of course, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso. We know how great they are defensively. It's all led by SGA. And, of course, SGA had a big game there last night. But the start of a dynasty, because this team still has a ton of draft picks. They've already locked the 3 guys in. We know about the second apron, et cetera. So whomever else is going to get paid on this team is either going to go elsewhere or they're going to have to take hometown discounts, which I'm sure not every player is going to want to do. But you have to look at this team with them being the youngest team. I believe if they're not the youngest team, I think they're the second youngest team. But off the top of my head, I think they are the youngest. And to know that this window is, forget about opened, it is still opening and already won a title. So, and remember, they've been 1 seeds in the West back-to-back years. And why would that change this year, despite the fact that the West is loaded? So, to me, that's storyline number 1. Now, I understand it's a marathon to get to the middle of June, and a lot could happen, injuries, trades, teams that catch on fire. And even though the NBA is the one sport where usually the team that has the better record or the best record in the league usually wins the whole thing. I mean, just think about it. Last year, Oklahoma City, 68 wins, and they win the title. The year before that, the Celtics had 64, win the title. The year before that, I believe Denver, they were 1 seed, and they won the whole thing. So generally, the teams that do have the best record, it's not a team that's in a 4 or 5 seed that wins 47 games. This isn't Major League Baseball. This isn't even, to a certain extent, the NFL, because sometimes you get 1 seeds knocked off. But with that being said, I think Oklahoma, this could be the start of something big. Granted, they only have 1 in their back pocket. To me, in order to be a dynasty, 3 in a row. And I understand 2, and you've seen throughout the years the Spurs or even Golden State where they won 4 in, 8 years. That's not really a dynasty. To me, you got to start with 3 and then move from there. But who knows? Does Oklahoma City do that? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they got the first one in. Let's see how they do starting with this year and beyond. The second biggest storyline, I think, are the Knicks. Is this their year? In a weakened East, on top of that, it's all set up for them. No Jason Tatum in Boston. No Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. No scenario regarding the Bucks where you do have Giannis, but he doesn't really have a second gun to go along with him, although Giannis is a beast. But at the same time, do we really think that the Bucks, unless they make a trade or do something somewhere in the middle of the season to where they could bring some reinforcements in? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see on that. Philly, you can't trust them. They have an old roster with a broken down Joel Embiid, even Paul George for that matter. And I understand you have the kid VJ Edgecombe, who a lot of people think could be the rookie of the year in the NBA this year. But Philly, I don't know how far along they're going to be as far as them maybe reaching toward the top of the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done. There is quite possible a young Orlando team could be an upstart. But with all that being said, the Knicks are going to be the spotlight. And it starts tonight against Cleveland, which Cleveland, I understand. And that's also going to be the next thing I want to talk about, because Cleveland is also an interesting team. But for the Knicks, with everything mapped out the way that I just displayed, the East is not powerful. It's certainly not the Western Conference. I mean, how much pressure is this team going to be in order for them to get to an NBA final and then finally slay the beast of 53 years without winning a championship? Now, we know about Jalen Brunson, obviously Karl-Anthony Towns and what he's able to provide. They did bring in some bench help, which they didn't really have last year. When you're looking at guys like Jordan Clarkson or Gershon Yabusele, And understand he's more of a glue guy, more of a lunch pail guy, and Clarkson pretty much the same. But and listen, and with this media and in this market, everybody's going to expect the Knicks to do big things. And anything short of getting to a final or even close to what they got to last year when they got to a conference final, to a 6-game, anything less than that's going to be a major disappointment. So to me, like I said, it is all laid out for them. I understand Cleveland, which is now going to be the next thing. Let me segue into them. The Cavs had what? 60, I believe they won 64 games last year. They had the 1 seed, and they lost in the second round to Indiana. I understand Indiana was on that magic carpet ride, considering Tyrese Halliburton, all those game-winning shots. But for this team that has Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and their bench is taking a little bit of a hit. Ty Jerome left for free agency. Max Strus, I believe, is going to be out for the first couple of months of the season. So they are going to be a little bit compromised. But at the same time, you'd have to look and think that this Cav team, I'm sure they're going to go into the season with a chip on their shoulder. Is this the Milwaukee Brewers of the NBA when you think about them? And the NBA is different because, yes, they are not a big market. They're not New York, Boston, LA, Philly, Chicago, etc. But this is a team that does have some star power. This is a team that obviously had a big regular season last year. And for them to come back for an encore, what do they do this time around? And they know that if they have anything close to the season that they had last year, again, in a weakened East, it's mapped out for them to have a big year and maybe even get to a conference final where they'll probably face off against the Knicks, and it'll come full circle considering that they'll be at the Garden tonight. So I understand that's more of a low-key storyline, because when you think about storylines in a league, you think about, oh, what are the Lakers going to do? Or, oh, what's going to happen with Boston? No Jason Tatum, so on and so forth. I mean, those teams, let's face it, and I'm going to break down and go through every team just as far as their theme goes. But yeah, I'm only looking at it from a standpoint of teams from last year into this year and what they've done and what they could set out to do this year, knowing that there are expectations, knowing that there is where the NBA fan is out there looking to see what are certain teams going to do. Yeah, I understand everybody's going to have the Lakers on their radar and some of the other big teams, but it's these other teams that I'm even more curious about for them to take that next step, whether OKC could be that dynasty, whether the Knicks could get to a final, where the Cleveland, what do they do for an encore? And then the next thing is, I feel, and I think would be big for the league, because this guy, I think, could be carrying the torch once LeBron, Steph, KD, as they're already later in their years. And even when you look at the players of today, the Anthony Edwards, I understand he's hurt, but Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, players like that who now are in the prime of their career, or even getting to the prime of their career for Anthony Edwards, and to a certain extent even Luka. But Victor Wembanyama, that is a guy that a lot of people want to see on a big stage. They want to see him in the postseason. We saw him in the Olympics last year playing in the gold medal game against the U.S., and now we want to see Wembanyama, the guy who could be the one that carries that torch. And I understand he's a foreign player. He's not an American player. But to me, how I look at it is, if you're that good with that size and skill set, etc., if he's going to be the one to carry the NBA for the next 10 years, then so be it. I understand not many people are going to gravitate to the SGAs of the world, and I got to throw him in the mix with the current state of players, whether it's Ant-Man and Tatum, etc. But SGA being Canadian and playing in Oklahoma City, I understand, not a big market. Same for San Antonio, but San Antonio does have a pedigree, despite the days of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Greg Popovich are long gone. But Wembanyama, the guy, you look at his size, you look at his ability, etc. This is one that obviously we haven't seen the likes of ever. To be able to post up, to be able to hit threes, to be able to defend, to be able to have a mid-range game, to have handle at 7'4". I mean, come on. So I find that fascinating. I was pushing for San Antonio during the final third of the season to get to the playoffs because I wanted to see them on that stage. But we know that Wembanyama had the blood clot issue. They sat him down for the rest of the year. And, of course, with a young team that they have there, to go along with Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox from the trade, they also had the second pick overall, Dylan Harper there from Rutgers. So they have a young team and a young nucleus that could certainly build. Now, does this mean that they're going to be in the top 4 out west as far as fighting it out for some home court advantage there in the first round of the playoff? Probably not, but still, I want to see how they're going to perform. And to me, I'm curious to know what Wembanyama and what the Spurs are going to be able to do throughout the course of this regular season. And I'm sure they're going to be showcased and highlighted on a lot of these games here, whether it be Amazon Prime, NBC, ABC, ESPN, etc. And that's going to be my next thing, because now there's no more TNT. And last night, you saw it showcased. Now, I didn't get all nostalgic with the NBA on NBC promos, and I understand I got to watch a little bit of that where they interviewed some of the players today. It's like, hey, what do you remember with the NBA and NBC? It's like, I wasn't even born yet. Oh, I don't know. And they couldn't even answer that. And that's the thing. When you're talking to guys in their mid-20s, the NBA last on NBC was, I believe, in 2003. So you're talking about players that even were born in 1996. They're not going to remember those games that are on NBC. And that's almost a 30-year-old NBA veteran. So, yeah, I didn't get wrapped up in all that, or even the Michael Jordan and the conversation piece and what he's going to provide and bring. And I get it. Everybody's like all amped up with the NBA and NBC. Yeah, but when I think of NBA and NBC, I think of Marv Albert. I think of him doing the games. And I think of just that era of Jordan, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, Shaq, Kobe. I mean, that is the NBA on NBC. And if you even want to go a little bit before that, when you look at guys like David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, I mean, we could go on forever talking about those games. So, yeah, I never got wrapped up in that. But here's the one thing. You're going to have your head on a swivel to find these games, which this is the world we live in 2025 with the damn streaming and trying to find these games, because one night you may think the game's on NBC, but it's really on Peacock. And last night they had it hand in hand, where both of the broadcasts were on the streaming platform and, of course, on regular network TV. But how I look at it is that, are the NBA fans in the middle of January, when they're trying to look for Golden State at Sacramento, I mean, are they going to be wrapped up in trying to find that game, whether it's on Amazon Prime or on Peacock or on ESPN or on, I mean, it's too much. And that's the thing about the NBA season. As I'll go through the schedule from every time, whether it's here on the live stream or on the podcast every Monday and Thursday, for those who aren't aware, Apple, Spotify, jreels.com, of course, on YouTube here at JReels. But how I look at it is, and then, of course, the inside the NBA stuff, everybody's going to look for Kenny, Shaq, and Charles and EJ. Oh, I said Kenny, Shaq, Charles, and Ernie Johnson. They're going to be looking for those guys. And I believe off the bat, they're going to be sparingly. You may not see them on a week-to-week basis, certainly not on a night-to-night basis. But so that's another fabric that everybody was looking forward to, especially when they were on TNT. So I think that it's not an NBA storyline, but that's more for the fans like us. But knowing that you have all these different channels and platforms to watch these games, are you going to be tired by the time you get to, and when I mean tired, not physically, but you're just going to be like, I could care less about watching a game on Amazon, or it's on Peacock, who cares? Who knows? Because the NBA now, for the first time, they're dabbling, just like baseball is dabbling into it, and then the NFL, as we've seen, and the NHL, a lot of that is streamed, I believe, on Hulu or TNT or HBO Max, I should say. So, yeah, I mean, will the fans just wait to get to the end of the year when they want to watch the matchups that they are anticipating, or just wait for the playoffs in order for them to really gravitate to watch the sport and follow it to see who's going to get crowned the champion? So those to me are the top storylines. Yes, we could talk about how the East is weak and how the West is loaded and so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, absolutely, we could certainly unpack that, but that, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So that's why I'm not going to really get into, here are the teams in the West. We know who are the good teams out West. And just like I touched on Knicks and Cleveland, they are the cream of the crop in the East. Maybe Milwaukee right below them. You may want to throw in Orlando, but Indiana, Boston, Indiana, Boston, drawing blanks here, Miami, Atlanta. I mean, those are teams that, all right, maybe Atlanta and let's get to that right there when I unpack a lot of these teams. Water, people, H2O, not coconut water, no vodka, no rum today. Just good old-fashioned H2O. But before I get to that, let me pull up the comments here and see what we got. All right, Cole. I know K could be in the MVP conversation. His only downfall is three-point shooting. He's not a big three-point shooter, and that is way, way better this season. I'm sure he's probably worked on that. And, yeah, I would think Cade, he's probably going to take his game to the next level. I'll touch on the Pistons in a bit. My pick is Spurs reach. Wemby looks scary. And listen, I think Wemby is a big storyline. If he stays healthy, yeah. I mean, this is year 3 of Wemby. Now it's time for him to he has to get into the postseason this year. There's no ifs, ands, buts, maybes about it. Have a young team, young nucleus. I get it. And I also understand that, it's not as if you have a ton of veterans on the team. I know De'Aaron Fox has been around for quite some time. But even then, De'Aaron Fox, what is he now? He was drafted the year Tatum. He's in his 9th year already? Jeez, where does the time go? But De'Aaron Fox is not a guy that you're going to automatically think that he's going to be the leader of that team, considering he just got there. I mean, that's going to be Wembanyama's team without question. So by any means, I'm not looking at it from a standpoint of when you talk about a veteran presence, a guy that has won championships, that's been around the sport, and knows how to win. And obviously De'Aaron Fox, you can't say that he actually has that. So, but let me hold on a second. All right, so you like Spurs Pistons there. Oh, Cole, all right, cool. Val, let's see what you got. Steph Curry looked good yesterday. LeBron's out, as you know, with that sciatica. I've been seeing a lot of cartoons mocking LeBron, and they're super funny. Yeah, I mean, of course, LeBron's going to be a lightning rod. And I saw something the other day. Well, I know a lot of the Stephen A stuff's coming out. He's been doing the podcast circuit. He did the Pivot. I believe he did 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, the one Carmelo Anthony, that pod. And I was actually surprised that he went on there because Carmelo and LeBron, as you know, they go way back. And I know there's been some people blasting Carmelo saying, oh, how are you going to put Stephen A on there to blast your friend? And I didn't watch it, so I don't know. And you would think that Carmelo, no matter what Stephen A has said, that he would come out and say, hey, I think you're being a little bit too harsh or whatever. And I haven't watched it, so I can't critique it. But maybe I'll go back and check that out and see for myself, because I know if LeBron, if that was my guy, and let's say he's coming out of left field saying certain things, and Stephen A, that's what he's going to do. Yeah, I would have to not necessarily put him in his place, but I'd say, hey, he's not here to defend himself, and you could come out and say that. But, I'm just babbling away here. So, Bio, greetings. We'll talk Dodgers later. We'll talk a little Lakers in a few minutes. Always good to see everybody here. Yes. Good morning to Bio from Cole. Didn't it just come out that Steph Curry's wife had been cheating on him this whole time? Oh, geez. I don't know. I know, as my wife's over there at the desk, like turning her, because if there's one person on the planet who is not a Steph Curry fan, that is the missus. Absolutely. Cole, I don't know. I've seen a couple of memes, but I don't really go in the weeds on that. I mean, unless it's really out there, like the TMZs of the world, and maybe they did come out with something. I don't know. I don't follow TMZ. I have no clue. But that would be interesting. I don't know. Wow. That's actually new. So I've just seen that. That has my eyes lit up, and I'm just sitting here in amazement. And even Val said didn't know that. Oh, there could be some dissension in the Warrior locker room. Nah, it's a little crazy to say that, but let's see. Cole, Val B, I seen a video that the headline, didn't watch it, so who knows? All right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little digging to see what I can find there. Val, George Kittle, some fans weren't too happy he didn't do much. Falcons 49 a game. Recover from the hamstring. I don't know what Kittle did the other day, and I'll talk about NFL later on. I don't know what Kittle was up to. Because I didn't watch that Atlanta game on Sunday night. I was just, to me, I didn't find anything fascinating about that game. Cole, I'll send you a link that does cartoons. Sports hilarious. All right, cool. Sounds good. And then Val, okay, Cole. All right, so now let me go through all the teams here as I pull that up. let's see. Wait, let me just go back to my top storylines. There we go. Yeah, now I'm going to more or less go through the teams, which I don't have a banner for. So my apologies there. All right. And I'm going to go. Yeah, I was going to go by conference, but I'm just going to go alphabetical order because I got the over and the win totals here. And that's coming up too. And this year it's a little bit of a twist, which I'll unpack later. But all right. So we're going to start Hawks, Atlanta. And I'm not going to go through a whole big giant thing. It's just a theme. All right. So it's not like I'm going to break down rosters or predict their wins or anything like that. Or go through each and every one of their win totals. It's just pretty much an overview of what I feel about these teams, breaking it all down. So here we go. Hawks. Now, second year with Zachary Richarchet, the first round pick from a year ago. Trae Young, we know he's a defensive liability, but Trae Young is going to do Trae Young things. He's going to hit 30 footers. He's going to make big plays, but at the same time, he's not going to be able to defend the light post. Who knows what Kristaps Porzingis is going to bring? The Hawks, they actually have a pretty high number, and Quinn Snyder's the coach. He's a good coach. I think the Hawks have a good year. I don't know about 47.5. I think that's a little bit too bold for Vegas to come out with that number. Man, maybe they'll be somewhere below that. But Atlanta, and who knows, in a week East, maybe they get to that number. But the Hawks, not to say it's time for them to rise to the occasion and see what they're going to do, but yeah, I think that number is a little too high for my liking. And Porzingis, you don't know about his health from one day to the next. I think he could add a lot, and he's won a championship. And can he be a leader? I don't know. But the Hawks, I'm sure they're going to try to lean on him a little bit for that experience and some of that locker room camaraderie as far as knowing what it takes to win. So we'll see what happens there with the Hawks. I think they have a good team, but I don't know if they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the East. They'll probably hover somewhere around between 5 and 8, which I think is probably where they're at. Maybe they make it as the top 6 in the East, but chances are there could be a play-in 7, 8 hovering around there. Do I get to the Celtics now? I mean, they're next on the list. Now, their number's 41.5. I think they should go over. Health is going to be big on this team, too. We know about Jason Tatum. Although all the reports says that they're going to take his time. They don't want to rush him back, but he's certainly well ahead of schedule. But I'm not banking on it for him to come back. If he comes back, great. If he doesn't. But this team is going to be relied heavily on Jaylen Brown as well as Derek White. They've lost a lot of key pieces, as you know. No Luke Cornett, no Al Horford. Obviously, Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis no longer there. So this is a team that, they're going to chuck threes. They're going to do what it takes. I'll be curious to see how Anthony Simons does. But besides that, this is a situation where the Celtics, listen, I'm not expecting big things this year. I would think they'll eclipse that over on their win total. But if that's not going to be the case, how I look at it is that they're going to be a team that's not going to go far in the postseason. Maybe they'll win a round. Could they get to a second round? Let me just see something here. Yeah, they're going to have – hold on a second. Yeah, they're going to have guys that they're going to want to contribute from the three, because I was trying to see who else they brought in here, especially during camp. Peyton Pritchard, as we all know, is a 6-man that certainly could come off the bench, but they may ask a lot more from him. And if that's going to be the case, it could be a rough season for the Celtics. So hang your hats on, Celtic fans. I think, like I said, they'll probably win between 42 and 46 games. And I would say maybe get to a second round. Anything past that, I'd be shocked. Next team on the list, the Brooklyn Nets. This is going to be a long year. Now they have a bunch of draft picks coming their way by way of the Knicks, as you know, with that trade, and even Phoenix for that matter. So they will have a surplus, but this is a team that they're going to be hurting. The Nick Claxtons of the world and the Cam Thomases and the Michael Porter Jr.'s. Remember, got traded for Cam Johnson there in the middle of the summer from Denver. And Michael Porter Jr., I know he's kind of been out there with some of the things that he's posted over the course of the summer and his channel and things of that nature. And that's not a knock. He can do whatever he wants. But you're the second banana in New York. It's a situation where the Nets are going nowhere, but they do have a bright future depending on how well they draft. So and their number's low. It's 19.5. It's not the lowest number in the sport, so just think about that. Charlotte, here's your theme here. LaMelo Ball, can he stay healthy? Brandon Miller, what is he going to be able to contribute? And this team, I mean, listen, this is, I hate to say it, it is basketball Siberia. The Charlotte Hornets have done nothing. They made a playoff, a few years ago. I believe that was was it the year after the COVID year? But this Hornet team, if LaMelo Ball stays healthy and they're able to make some hay, and I guess for them is to win 35 games, which is not saying much, that will be a big plus. Their over-under is 27.5, so it just goes to show you the type of year they're going to have. And speaking of a nondescript team, the Chicago Bulls next, I mean, I couldn't even tell you if they walk down the street. I know the Patrick Williams of the world and the Josh Giddey who just got an extension and guys like that, but I mean, these guys, I couldn't pick them out of a lineup. And the Bulls, they're 33.5. I don't know where they're going to get 33 wins. I wanted to pick them as an under, but I don't want to pick on a bad team. But the Bulls look like they could be having a long year, and I don't know what their draft status or capital is moving forward as far as like trades and things of that nature. But yeah, I think that's going to be a long year in the Windy City. Cleveland, which we kind of touched on there. So do I really need to unpack that? Not necessarily. I think they'll have a big year. Their number's 56.5. They probably will go over. Maybe hit 60. I don't know if they'll hit 64. Dallas, I think this team, and their number's 41.5, and I get it, no Kyrie Irving, but if they stay healthy, they have bigs. You know about Derek Lively. Obviously, AD's on the team. And with Klay Thompson, he's not going to be asked to do a lot, considering Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall pick of the draft this past year. And they're going to slowly but surely bring him in. I understand there's going to be a lot that he's going to be expected to do to contribute, but that number's low. I really think that listen, now they're not going to get 50, but I could see them getting 45. I could see them 47. And if Kyrie, he's going to be chomping at the bit, considering if the Mavericks, whether they're having a good year or whether they're kind of middling in the middle, whatever he does to come back. And remember, he tore his knee last March. Or was that in February? No, I believe it was maybe early March. So if his recovery is to come back, let's say by the All-Star break, and he's ready to go. So, and we know Kyrie's game is penetrating and getting to the hole, and who knows psychologically how the knee's going to respond. But I think the Pistons will be up next, or 2 teams down. Dallas, I think, could have a good year, maybe surprise people in the playoffs. I'll even go as far as saying that. Now, I understand health is big because we know that they do have size in the front court, and they have some obviously scoring threats there where there is AD, and we would think Cooper Flagg and Klay coming off the bench. So I do like Dallas there to eclipse that number and actually have a real good season. And speaking of which, Denver got their reinforcements. Remember last year they had no depth, no bench, and even though they pushed the Oklahoma City Thunder to a 7th game there in the second round, but now they got their reinforcements. The aforementioned Cam Johnson. They bring back Bruce Brown, who was on the championship team a few years ago. You also bring in Jonas Valanciunas to bring in some rebounding and a little bit of offense there to help out there with Jokic. We know Jokic is Jokic, and their number is 53.5. I think they're going to have a huge year. I like what they did in the offseason. Denver, especially with Jokic now getting older. I understand he's 30, which is still, prime peak years. And considering that he's won 3 of the last 5 MVPs, could have won 4 of the last 5 when you think about it, considering he averaged a triple-double last year. But I think the Nuggets have a big year. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to go deep into this postseason, past the second round, which they have done, or that's been their plateau the last 2 years after winning that title in 2023. Now, Detroit basketball for Cole. Pistons, after what they did last year, JB Bickerstaff, the head coach, Cade Cunningham, Cole thinks he could be an MVP finalist. They have a good young team. I know Jaden Ivey, though, he hasn't fully recovered from that. I believe he had that knee injury last year. So that's a guy that would really benefit with he and Cade in the backcourt. The guys that they have in the front court, with Duran and I'm drawing blanks here with the Pistons off the top of my head. Who's the other guy who throws his weight around? Isaiah Stewart, and who didn't even play in the postseason against the Knicks last year, and the other kid, Ron Holland. So they have size, they have toughness, they have ability. Now, their over-under is 46.5. I think with the way the conference could shake down, they could host a first-round series. They could probably go as high as 4. And, yeah, I can see them winning a first-round series. Now, it would be interesting if they go up against, let's say, the Milwaukees of the world in the first round. If they're a 5 seed, that would be that would certainly be intriguing. But I think the Pistons, they could build off of what happened last year. That was a series that they could have won against the Knicks. So their number's 46.5. I could see them eclipsing that. Barely, maybe 48. I think their ceiling could be 50. But I do like the Pistons this coming year as well. Golden State at 47.5. To me, they're one of those teams that could either be at 50 or at 42 because of their age. And we could talk about their pedigree and their culture, et cetera. I'm not buying that. Look at what they've done here in these last few years. They've barely been able to get out of these first rounds. And I understand last year they did surprise. They beat Houston in the first round, and they lost to Minnesota there in the second round. I understand no Steph Curry. But prior to that, they've made it in as 8 seeds and didn't even make it out of the play-in scenario. And, Golden State, I don't trust him fully. Jimmy Butler, he's going to be asked to play minimum 65 games. This isn't Miami where he could take weeks off at a time. So I don't know. And I'm sorry, Val. Listen, they could have a good year. And I think that their high could be, I would say 50. I won't even go as high as 52. Maybe 52 if everything breaks right. But I'm sorry. Golden State right now, that's not a team that I would fully trust. Steph has had these injuries over the years. Draymond, suspension's coming. Is Kuminga going to step his game up to the point where, with everything that happened over the summer, where he could be, I'm not going to say a leader, but a guy that can lead in scoring? To me, there are a bunch of what ifs with Golden State. So 47.5, I think they're going to be a smidge below that. The Rockets with KD, as you know, and even though with the loss last night, 52.5, Ime Udoka is your coach, Amen Thompson. They have a good young nucleus. What about Alperen Sengun's game last night? I mean, monster game. I think the Rockets are going to have a big season. Now, they got to get past the first round, as they just talked about, losing to the Warriors. Can they go deep into May and maybe June? Quite possibly. But Durant, we know, big-time scorer. I understand 37 years of age. They gave him the 2-year extension. But KD is not a leader of men. Despite his pedigree, despite his track record, despite his brilliance, etc. KD's a guy that just wants to hoop and go home. He's not a guy that's going to pull guys and be like, yo, you got to pick up your weight. Hey, we're not doing that here. He's not that guy. So, and who is that guy in a Rocket team that is going to be able to tell other people? There's not a real veteran on that team. All right, you can say Steven Adams, fine, but I'm sure as much as he could be that quiet leader, but he's not going to be the one that's going to rally the troops to say, hey, we're at the midway point of the season and they're hovering around 500 and we got to snap out of it. I don't know if they have a guy like that on their team. Maybe Adams is that guy, but we shall see. Indiana, no Tyrese, no Miles Turner. I know they still have Pascal Siakam. 37.5 is their number. I think they'll get over that, but I don't think they're going to get that much over. Maybe they'll get to 45 and 37, but I don't like Indiana. I mean, they don't have Halliburton, and Miles Turner was a fixture there. I think they'll do better than 37.5, but that's a low number. Yeah, and listen, who knows? Now, Halliburton's not going to be ready for the postseason. Remember, he hurt himself in Game 7, where Tatum hurt himself in the middle of the second round. So, and I'm sure Halliburton, his recovery is going well, but it's going to be a lot to ask to have Halliburton come back by the time you get to April or maybe even the second round. So who knows? But I don't see the Pacers having a big year. And obviously when you have two of your best players that aren't there, that's going to be a huge hit despite them being deep. And they have played the Andrew Nemhards of the world and Aaron Nesmiths and guys like that. So that's you have the Pacers. The Clippers, the number is 49.5. And I understand it's kind of been swept under the rug, but this whole investigation with Kawhi and Steve Ballmer, that There hasn't been any finality to that. So although all's quiet on the Western Front in that regard, but once that starts to crop up again, and if it's a situation where Balmer may get suspended or the team's going to lose draft picks as well as being fined, and I don't think anything's going to happen to Kawhi. And I understand Kawhi had a healthy year last year, and you also bring in Bradley Beal. Ugh, that could be scary. That number scares me. Now, if Kawhi is going to get hurt and James Harden is James Harden, yeah, he's going to have his brilliance in certain games, but he's not going to deliver in big games. That's another team. If everything breaks right, I could see them winning over 50 games, but that is a huge if. I'll leave it right there. Lakers, now this groin issue with Luka could be huge. And to me, the theme for the Lakers, this to me, I would think is the Renaissance tour for Luka. Now, we know about his offseason program. He got fit, svelte. Looks like he could probably be in a discussion for MVP to go along with, you want to say Cade Cunningham or even SGA or Jokic, fine. But if he has a groin issue, and we don't know the severity of it, and he's in good shape now. When he was in bad shape, quote unquote, whether he was in Dallas or even last year for that matter, at times with the Lakers, how is his body going to respond here? Now, you would think it's probably going to respond a lot better considering he's laid off of the hookah and probably eating fast food or whatever. But you could have LeBron out of the lineup for a considerable amount of time, but with Doncic out of the lineup, forget it. And their number's 46.5, which that's probably right there. Even with LeBron healthy. And like I said weeks ago, if LeBron was healthy, he can't carry the load as far as minutes and being the guy that's going to carry the load as far as handling the ball for big stretches of games. And I know, Bio, if you're still in the room, you'd be the one to attest to this better than I. And we know LeBron's going to contribute, freak of nature. We've gone down the road with his health, but he has a sciatica issue, and who knows? Sciatica is a nerve issue. That's like a crop up at any moment, and he'll be 41 at the end of December. And I understand LeBron is probably in a hyperbaric chamber somewhere as I speak, but still, this is a situation where it is a big question mark for this team, not only with LeBron's help, but Luka with a groin. And again, I'm not trying to make this out to be a 2-month injury, but if this is something that's going to crop up from time to time throughout the course of the year, and even though he's minded, is that the right way? Mind? It's not mound. I'll say it this way. He's been on his P's and Q's to the point where he hasn't veered off of his offseason program, and I'm sure he's coming in this season like gangbusters, but now this injury, that's a big question mark. So I'll just leave it right there. But I think the Lakers, they're right at that number. And can he make some noise come April, May, June? To me, that's all contingent on the health of Luka and LeBron for that matter. DeAndre Ayton, do I expect a lot from him? Listen, he's going to have his moments. And I'm sure he's going to frustrate you as a Laker fan to think that he can have those double-doubles where he's like 22 and 17. And you're like, oh, all right, great. This is what we want. But then in a big game, let's say against OKC, he's in foul trouble. He's got 14 points and 8 rebounds. And that's not going to cut it, especially a guy that the Lakers, they've counted on and needed size for the longest time. And Ayton, he could be like ice cream on a hot summer day. I don't want to go as far as saying soft, but you get my drift. Memphis, to me, the theme here is Ja Morant. Now, I know Jaren Jackson III got his money. But to me, it's all on Ja. And Ja, he was arguably a top 5, top 7 NBA player. And because of the injuries and the off-court stuff, I mean, you don't know with this guy. You just don't. And he was nursing an injury throughout training camp and the preseason. To me, that's a big thing because if Ja could come back to be Ja of what he was 3 years ago, then they're going to be, I'm not going to say a force, but they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. But I don't know. He's a wild card. So to me, I couldn't even pinpoint how he's going to perform here throughout the course of this year based on his availability and his durability. So that's what I'm going to look at there. The Heat, this is a team that was in the finals as an 8 seed 3 years ago, and since then they've regressed. And Pat Riley, who usually is the magician who could bring talent down there to South Beach. And this past offseason, Norman Powell, listen, I know it's a reach, and Powell's a good NBA player. That's not to knock him. But that's not going to cut it if you're trying to compete with the Knicks, if you're trying to compete with the Cavs, and maybe the Bucks for that matter. But yeah, South Beach right now, it is looking very barren as far as a team that has expectations, a team that Pat Riley could all of a sudden wave that magic wand and they could be a team to watch out for. And as we've seen here over the last few years, they've been a playing team. And yes, I understand they've done damage making that finals run a few years ago, but I got news for you. Tyler Hero, who he's also nursing an injury as well. I mean, this is a team that is hurting for certain. And their number's what? 37.5, and that's probably right about it. Now, the Bucks, Giannis has big shoulders, and he's going to need every centimeter of them to carry this team into the postseason. Now, they have Miles Turner. All right, fine. But they don't have much else. They don't. I mean, the Bobby Portises of the world, okay, fine. And, yeah, they have the good role players. There's no more Brook Lopez. Obviously, Damian Lillard is in Portland and still nursing that Achilles. But the Bucks are one of those teams that if Giannis is going to have that monster year, he's going to be in the MVP discussion. And that's going to ask a lot from him. And he's willing to accept that load. That's what you love about Giannis. But, yeah, I tell you. And then Doc Rivers is your coach. But although 43.5, that's a low number. And because of the East, and if you listen to the podcast the other day, I tipped my hand and I picked the Bucks as an over. So, and listen, how could you knock Giannis? The guy's a monster and still at the height of his abilities. Granted, he's 30 years old and he's got some miles on him, but still, I like the Bucks to do some things there, despite the fact that they do not have a lot of depth. The T-Wolves, Ant-Man, he's got to take his game to the next level. He can't be invisible in these conference finals games. And I hear it all the time, especially during that time. Oh, well, he beat Luka. He beat Jokic 2 years ago. He's beaten a lot of teams in his wake. Yeah, but he's stopped at the conference final. So now you got to go around above that. And they have a good team led by Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, good role players, the Nas Reeds of the world, and et cetera. But, yeah, Ant-Man's now going to have to be, if he wants to be an MVP, he's going to have to average like 35 in order for him to be. And I think last year, what did he average? About 28? And 35 may be too high, but he's going to have to average in the 30s in order for him to be taken as that guy. New Orleans, you heard about Zion. He came back all on the Luka diet. And, yeah, New Orleans, that's it's tough down there. To me, it's him. He's that team, and they gave him all that money, and we know Zion with all of his potential and ability, yeah, he cannot stay on the court. We know the story there, and that's it. If he could stay healthy, if you could guarantee me 70 games, he could wreck the league. He can. But another big what if. The Knicks, I already talked about them, so you already know. Oklahoma City, I mean, do I even need to get into that? I already talked about them with their chances of probably going back-to-back. Orlando's a very intriguing team in my eyes. And just because they bring in Desmond Bane, when I looked at that trade, I didn't see that as, now it's shifted the power of the Eastern Conference. Bane's a nice player, but he's not a perennial all-star. He's not an all-NBA player. And again, good defensive player. He can score, make threes, but just because he goes to that team and he hasn't won anything, why would I think Orlando's going to be that much better? We know that team is going to be driven by Paolo Banchero. Hopefully Jalen Suggs can stay healthy. He's a guy that obviously is going to be counted on. You know about Franz Wagner. They have a very good young nucleus. But to me, that is Paolo Banchero's team. Whatever Desmond Bane is going to contribute, that's going to be huge. But I think they can have a big year considering, again, sound like a broken record, the conference, maybe taking a step up, Jamal Mosley, the coach. So I do like Orlando this year. The Sixers, I'm going to say this about Philly. It's all about Embiid. And we all know he cannot stay healthy throughout the course of a season. He's going to have to play, 2/3 of the games? And he's going to try to play 65 so he could qualify for whatever MVP or all NBA nods, things of that nature. But Paul George, he's another guy that's breaking down, and you can't rely on him in the clutch. Tyrese Maxey, who I like as a good young player, and we'll call out his players as he did Embiid last year. But yeah, the Sixers, I don't see it. And as a matter of fact, I take that back. Wait, let me double check something because I want to make sure I got this right because I made a big error on my part. No, I did say that right with VJ Edgecombe. Yeah, because I had San Antonio, but no, I said that right. Dylan Harper. Yeah, I was going back in the memory bank earlier to say, wait a second. Did I say that VJ Edgecombe was on the Spurs? Because I had Spurs on the brain and them being at the top of the draft last year. So wait, I could just, because that would have looked very bad on my part. And even with Edgecombe and no Jared McCain, a guy that they drafted from the University of Duke. I don't know about the Sixers. And again, I don't trust them as far as I could throw them. I'm sorry. I know Nick Nurse is a coach. I like him as a coach, but Philly, and who knows, 43.5. If they stay healthy, they should go above that. But another big what if. Now, Portland, it's a no. Phoenix first, obviously, with the trade. KD, it's Devin Booker's team and no Bradley Beal. This is going to be scraps. Beal's going to be, unfortunately, a good scorer and a good player on a bad team. Phoenix, they're in the desert, and they're going to be in the desert scrapping for wins. I can't see a lot that's going to happen there in the Valley of the Sun. Same could be said for Portland. We know that Damian Lillard is not going to come back anytime soon. And then with Scoot Henderson, who's going to be on the shelf here for the first month of the season, it can't be all on the Shaden Sharps and guys like that. I know Drew Holiday now in Portland, what he's going to provide as far as veteran leadership and knowing what it takes to win. But yeah, that's a bad situation for a guy who's a winning player. But Portland, I don't expect much out of that squad under Chauncey Billups. I talked about San Antonio. No need to get into them. Sacramento could be a surprise. And I say could. Now, Keegan Murray, who's going to be out with that UCL injury in his thumb, but you do have Domantas Sabonis is good. You do have DeMar DeRozan, good. Russell Westbrook, who signed with the team, add a little spark coming off the bench. He may even start. Who knows? But, yeah, that team, I thought they were going to do well last year. They traded De'Aaron Fox. They ended up fizzling out. 32.5 is a low number. I think they could eclipse that. And if they're right at that number or hovering at the end of the season, that's just a bad job if you ask me. But Sacramento, I would think they're going to have a lean year here. But we shall see. Toronto, I understand Scotty Barnes. That is your guy there. And you have R.J. Barrett. And they kept Jacob Portal. And let me see. Who was the other big? I know they had another big transaction. I was going to say transition. But yes, transaction. Let me enunciate. Oh, Brandon Ingram in the trade. That's the guy I was thinking about. So, and Ingram's always hurt, as you know. But they don't have much depth. I don't know what to expect out of a team. I know that the number is actually higher than I thought. Was it 39.5? I don't know. I see them being lower than that. If Ingram stays healthy and to go along with Barnes, they could be a fun team to watch. But the Jazz, do I even need to unpack this team? They have the lowest number in the sport, 18.5. And all I'll say is they're going to be at the top of the lottery again. I mean, Lauri Markkanen and not much else. How about that? Then the Wizards round up the field, 20.5. They're the third lowest as far as the over on the point total. And yeah, not much going on there in the nation's capital. And it hasn't been for quite some time. I couldn't even tell you. I know they had a top pick last year. Who was their let me pull that up. Who was the number one pick last year? Wasn't it Ace Bailey? I believe it was Ace Bailey. And listen, he can provide some punch and provide some excitement there. Yeah, Alex Sarr was their pick from earlier, from last year after Ricochet in the first round 2024. Marvin Bagley III, we're still waiting for him to arrive. As I'm looking at their roster. Wait a second. Hold on. Am I reading this right? No, Ace Bailey. Hold on a second. Yeah, I got my teams mixed up. Who did they draft? I know Cam Whitmore. A lot of people think he's going to do some things there. Bad job on my part. Here we go. Did Ace Bailey? Where the hell did Ace Bailey go? I thought he went to the Wizards. No, Wizards drafted 6, didn't they? No, and Bailey went to Utah. Should have known that. All right, so you have Lauri Markkanen, Ace Bailey, and not much else. Bailey went to Utah. My apologies there. For some reason, I thought he went to Washington, and he did not. So hand raised high. You know me. Got to keep it real with you guys. So that is a huge error on my part. My apologies. Ace Bailey in Utah. And Bailey, you know, he could be a bit of a character. So who knows? The losing mounts, and the next thing you know, he's going to be taking plays and nights off. You definitely don't want that. And especially for a young coach like Will Hardy, we'll see. But yeah, Washington does not have much going on there in the nation's capital. So that's what you have there with the going through the theme. Now, let me get to the comments here, and then I'll get to some other stuff with the NBA. And then I got to pivot to go baseball. Obviously, I want to finish this here right at the top of the next hour, which will be 2 o'clock, because we're now 1 o'clock here, 1 hour in. We've talked all NBA. I hope to see Vlado, because Vlado, he's been waiting for this episode. All right, hold on a second. All right, is this Cole? Hold on. Uh-oh. I'll start with Cole's comment here. You can look at Steph's kids and tell there he's no, it's probably just some guards doing videos to get views. Oh, yeah, I don't know that. I got to go back and look at that. Michigan preseason number 7 for basketball. This is our season. Go blue. Yeah, I know. I haven't even got wrapped up into college basketball just yet, but that's good for them. And Fishing Angel, good afternoon to you. She made it. Yes. Thank you, Fishing Angel, for jumping on board. Cole saying, have a good day, Fishing Angel. Damn spell check. I know we hate the spell check. And this Fishing Angel is going to take umbrage. You spelled it wrong. And she says it's okay. All right, don't judge me. I'll make you walk home today in the dark. Ooh. I'm sure it's not going to be a far walk, though. Down the hall and maybe a left or a right, depending. I joke. I would never, of course. Cole, you definitely would not. Don't be an ass, she says. I love it. I love the banter. Michigan won. They need to keep winning. Yeah, it says they beat Washington the other day. I'll get to the college football a little later. Blue Jays won. I was happy about that. Yes, you're going to have right on the other side of the, not to where you're at, because obviously you're outside of the Detroit area. So, but certainly you could actually go see a World Series game if you wanted to. And depending on how the ticket prices, I'm sure they're through the roof. Fishing Angel asking Cole how his day's going. Bored watching American Pickers. Yeah. Doing laundry, mopping floors. Yeah, I have to do laundry later, so I'm with you on that. Sorry, Jay lost Wi-Fi last time. Oh, no, that's fine. And I hope I haven't froze yet. James D, my man. Next OKC, that's your prediction, huh? Hang the banner. Let's go. Yeah, a lot of people are picking that. Did Stephen A? I got to pick on him. I know he said, the Knicks are going to go to the finals. I don't think he picked them to win, did he? And he probably picked OKC. And that's the thing. Wait till you hear my NBA finals pick. You're going to be like, what? Now, I haven't seen a lot of NBA's finals picks, but I'm sure everybody picked OKC and everybody picked the Knicks, or in some combination, OKC versus Cleveland or Knicks versus OKC. I mean, come on. We gotta switch it up there a little bit. I did froze for a second, nothing crazy. All right. I don't know. My Wi-Fi, it's literally right across from me, so I don't know why, and I'm showing the 3 bars there. So, all right. So let me continue here because I want to get to the other stuff, and I appreciate you all for hopping on board, as you well know. So let me get to. Should I get to my over-unders? Yeah, you know what? Surprise and disappointments. I got news for you. With the way the NBA is, I'm telling you, a lot of the teams, I couldn't really even pick one. As crazy as that may sound. Maybe if I'm going to pick a team that could be a surprise, I'm going to say the Hawks. Although their win total is high, but I mean, Yeah, and even that I'm not like fully confident on, but you would think with Chris Stapps and everything that I mentioned before, Richase and Trey Young and guys like that, I'm going to pick them as a surprise team. As far as a disappointing team, I hate to say it, Val, maybe Golden State, but that's a maybe. Man, that's not, that's not going out on a limb. To me, the disappointment for Golden State would be not to make the playoffs altogether. Now, if they're making it as an 8 seed or a 9 seed as they have in years past, yeah, that is certainly a disappointment. But somehow, some way, if they get hot and win the play-in, and then next thing you know, they're in the first round, although if they could get bounced then, but they made it to the playoffs. To me, disappointment would be them not making the playoffs altogether. And as we know in the NBA landscape that is 2025, 26, if you're in the top 10, you're in, even if it is a one and done scenario or a two and done, depending. Disappointment. I guess I'll say Clippers, only for everything I mentioned earlier. Older team. Maybe this thing starts hovering over their heads with the whole scandal, trying to manipulate the salary cap. Steve Ballmer, big dummy, shouldn't be doing that. So, yeah, that's my quick surprise disappointments. I know it's not much people, but yeah, I mean, I really don't expect a lot. It's weird. It's not like there's a bunch of teams where it's like, wow, they're predicted to do this, but I don't think they're going to do that. Or this team is on the come up. I mean, really, am I going to say, oh, the Charlotte are going to be a surprise? Or the Wizards going to be a surprise? Or the Brooklyn Nets, Utah, Chicago? I mean, there's a lot of bad teams in the NBA. That's all there is to it. Yeah, now that I see my bar here, it's showing that I have one bar here, but I have all four. I don't know. But hopefully it doesn't freeze. All right, here we go. NBA over-unders. And then I'll get to my finals prediction. So as far as my over-unders, you know the drill. Usually I pick 3 overs and 3 unders based on what Vegas had put out. I'm going to go 4 overs and 2 unders this year. So let's get right to it. And even though I gave you a breakdown synopsis of each team, so I won't elaborate too much on that, but you'll get an idea as to why, and I'll start off with my overs. First team, I'm picking Milwaukee 43.5. To me, that's a low number, weak East. Giannis, he's going to be a monster. I think in their sleep, they'll win 45 games, even with Doc Rivers as their coach. Milwaukee's my first over. Number 2, I'm picking the Knicks. To me, it's a no-brainer with all the expectations. 53.5. That could be right about it too. But I think they'll win 55, 56 games, which will be the most that they've had since the Ewing days. So think about that. And even the one year with Carmelo, I think they went 54-28, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they'll win 54, which is 2/3 of their games. So 53.5, that's 2. Number 3, I'm picking Orlando. It's a bit of a risk, but when I really looked at it, I could see this team taking the next step. Maybe go 52-30. That's not asking too much. I don't expect too much more than that. Maybe their ceiling could go as high as 55, 56-26. But young team. Hopefully they learn in that first round against Boston. They're a physical team too, which you like. So I'm going to pick them as my 3rd over. And my 4th over, I'm picking Dallas. That number is 41.5. And I understand last year, I think their record was 39-43. And that was with AD out of the lineup. And I understand he stubs his toe and he's out for 3 months. But, yeah, I really feel that the Dallas Mavericks could have a good year, a solid year, even without Kyrie. 45, 46. And if Kyrie does come back, maybe as high as 48. So, yeah, I'm picking them as my 4th over. And then my unders, until I see otherwise, I'm picking Memphis, 39.5. He always has shoulder issues. There's always something going on with him. Hopefully he's cleaned up his act off the court. Yeah, I don't know. If Ja's healthy, who knows? I'll probably have to eat my words, but I'm going to pick Memphis 39.5 as an under, and I'm throwing the Clippers in there too, 49.5. They'll make the playoffs. They'll probably win close to that number, 47, 48 games, maybe even get 49. But do you trust Kawhi? Do you trust even James Harden? And I understand he's healthy and he plays a lot of these games. And you do have Ivica Zubac, Bradley Beal. Are you going to get any contribution from him? And we know that guy's always hurt. Yeah. I see that being an under. And you know what? That's all right, because if Kawhi's going to be healthy come playoff time, they have a shot to beat anybody. And as we saw last year, they couldn't beat Denver when it mattered. And if I'm not mistaken, they didn't have a 3-2 series lead before they went back to LA and they lost game 6 and then 7 in their building. So those are my over-unders. To recap, Milwaukee 43.5 is an over. Orlando 51.5. Knicks 53.5. Mavericks 41.5. And my two unders are Memphis 39.5 and the Clippers 49.5. Those are my over-unders for the year. And then lastly, before I pivot to other things, and I'm just going to let it pop up on screen and I'll see your comments. Ready for this? Let's see. Surprise Spurs, disappointing Golden State. All right, Cole, I can see that. Tatsuya, audio video is good, no freezing. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Here is my, I should say, NBA final prediction. I know the Bucks are a stretch. I get that. But I think the Nuggets have a big year. And they're the one team I feel that they could beat Oklahoma City. And they almost did so last year. Now, I would say almost, that's too strong, but they pushed them to a 7th game. They had a big lead there in the first quarter, if you remember. They were up, I think, like 21-10. And then the Oklahoma City, I think, closed out on an 11-5 run. And in the second quarter, they just blew the doors off, and then that was it. So, yeah, I see Denver over Milwaukee. No OKC, no Knicks, obviously no Celtics, no Lakers. Denver over Milwaukee is my NBA final. And I want to be different, too. To do chalk is boring. Now, listen, I'm not coming on here and saying, yeah, I like a Bulls, Portland NBA final. I'm not that stupid, people. I mean, you know me better than that. But, yeah, I want to switch it up a little bit. I want to make it different. Just like my Stanley Cup final prediction. I picked Devils and Stars. And who was my Super Bowl pick? Did I do Buffalo, Detroit again? Or Detroit? Wait, I got to go back and look at that. Hold on. I picked Detroit to win. That I do know. Hold on. Yeah, I picked Detroit over Buffalo, which that's chalky. I get it. Without question. You know, it's not as if I picked, I don't know, Cincinnati, San Francisco or something like that. But, yeah, you got to switch it up. And look at my baseball pick earlier this year. I picked Detroit over Atlanta. That was my World Series. Or maybe I picked Atlanta over Detroit. I think I did Atlanta in 6. So, yeah, you know, I like to be different. Because to do chalk, I mean, everybody does that. That's like picking the NCAA tournament. You pick all 1 seeds or you pick 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed. I mean, seriously? I mean, why even fill out a bracket if that's the case? So that's what we got with the NBA, people. That is what's happening. That is what's popping. Let's see one comment before we move on. Spurs versus the Pistons. Pistons hang banner. Number 4, 4-3. Also, I like that. That's a different pick. Why not? I know, James. I could see Denver. Bucks have a hard start, and Big Freak may choose New York City. No, I know the Bucks is a bit of a reach. I'll admit that, because so much is going to have to be on Giannis' shoulders in order for them to get to that point. But, yeah, I'm not picking Cleveland. Definitely not picking the Knicks. Although the Knicks will go to a final. I wouldn't be shocked. But, yeah, that's what you have at the NBA. Now, let me pivot here because I got about 45 minutes. I mean, I could go past that, but, yeah, I want to tidy it up a little bit. And this will pretty much be a little bit faster. NBA preview, obviously, I got to unpack a lot. So, and that was the first hour and 15 minutes. So let me get to my banners. Here we go. I got to start off with this. Now, as I said to you at the very top of this show, that I'm hurting, not a little bit, a lot of it, considering I did not get a good night's sleep last night. Well, I guess the same could be said for the people in the Pacific Northwest, in particular, the city of Seattle, because if I was a Mariner fan, I'd still be staring at the ceiling. That Game 7 was a disaster class of managing baseball 2025. And listen, I don't want to pick on Dan Wilson. Of course, I have to, because he's the guy that's in the dugout. But as we've heard, whether you're Derek Jeter calling out Brian Cashman, how the games played out beforehand, the collective effort, and there's no shock with the front office, the GM, the manager, the analytics department, etc. And what Dan Wilson and what he experienced, he was certainly a rented mule when it comes to that process and is gotten beaten down because of it. And I hate to use that terminology, but you get where I'm coming from. The two glaring things from that game. Number one, why was he pulled out after 4 innings? His numbers, he gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and was pretty much cruising along. This is game 7. And this bullpen has been seen 1,000 times by these hitters. Can you get some length? And when you absolutely positively have to go to the bullpen or when Kirby's in trouble, fine. And he only threw 65 pitches. I don't care if you threw 85 pitches. Go into the 5th inning and show me what you got. So that was glaring and egregious mistake number one. And number two, how he brought in Bizzardo to face George Springer after Andres Jimenez bunted the first 2 batters who got on base, and they took Wu out, and they bring in Bizzardo, who pitched 2 innings the day before. Because, remember, off the top of my head, I know I had a brain fart a couple days ago. Who started game 6? I got to go back to see who pitched game 2. Yeah, the game 6 starter, was it Logan Gilbert? Or Gilbert pitched game 5? I think it was Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert didn't have a game 6. And Bizzardo pitched 2 innings on Sunday night. And for Wilson to go to that bullpen, and then to make matters worse, he pitches to Springer with a base open. Springer, have you not, or I should say Wilson, have you not watched Springer perform in these postseason games? Mainly with the Astros. This guy knows how to win. This is a guy that you want to have on your team. He's a leader. And right, you could talk about trash cans and sign stealing all you want, but the guy is clutch. The guy knows how to come up big. He doesn't shrink in the spotlight. And what did you see there Monday night? You got a meatball over the plate where I probably could have hit it out of the ballpark. And that was your game. Bizzardo, and listen, I understand he's not going to come into the game and you're going to put up the 4 fingers to just walk him automatically, because you could have done that prior to Springer getting up at the plate. And Nathan Lucas, listen, a good player, scrappy player, and he's had big hits in his postseason. But Dan Wilson, who I'm sure has not slept, I would think he's probably quadruple and 1,000 times over questioning himself, I should have pitched to Lucas there. And listen, I'm not trying to make George Springer out to be Albert Pujols, but one more time, this guy's played in 5 game 7s. This guy knows what it takes to win. This guy has delivered in big spots. And you pitched to him, and he was, I believe the count was 1-0 before he hit the home run. And then in the 9th inning, I was hoping Rodriguez would have gone on there for Cal Raleigh. That would have been theater. That would have been intrigue. That would have been suspense to see Raleigh try to deliver in that spot. And what did Julio Rodriguez do? He flared the 3-2 pitch, which I will say, the Dodgers aren't going to go fishing for pitches like that. I'm saying that now. So Rodriguez, the moment got too big, and that looked like it was a slide. Yeah, it must have been a slider. Almost had like a changeup the way it would sound. Maybe it could have been a changeup, but yeah, that was a bad final pitch there. He should have laid off on that. He should have not have. Listen, if he would have broke his wrist there and he would have been called out, that would have been bad too. But that was a feeble attempt at trying to protect the plate, and that ball was way outside. But that's what you have, and they fall short of a World Series. They've never made it to a World Series. I understand that they could look at this and say, oh, the experience, and it was a great ride, and we'll think about this come February in spring training. You'd only hope, because the Mariners, that is going to be a long, cold winter there in the Pacific Northwest because of 2 reasons. You had a 2-0 series lead going to Seattle, going back home to Seattle. You blew that. Then you won a game number 5 to come back to Seattle to have 2 shots to win 1 game. And then here you are in the bottom of the 7th with a 3-1 lead, and you gagged it. There's nothing else I could add. So I don't want to hear, oh, it's been a great season. Nobody expected us to get to a game 7, blah, blah. No, 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 no. You know the old saying, and I believe I started my podcast off on Monday with that. You didn't come this far only to come this far. And that's the Seattle Mariners. If there was a tagline or an epitaph for them to put on their 2025 tombstone, that's it. And then they talk about this series. Springer's Blue Jays punched their ticket. I mean, you got to give it up. And the Blue Jays have gas. Do I think they're going to win this World Series? I do not. But here's the difference between Toronto making it and Seattle. Yes, Seattle has the big thumper in Raleigh. Julio Rodriguez had a good postseason, last at notwithstanding. And Josh Naylor, guy's a grinder. He's a gamer. Same for J.P. Crawford. But there are other guys in that lineup that, you know, the Leo Rivas's of the world, and that they're just going to fall short. Where the Blue Jays, they have Vladdy, they have Springer, but they also have gamers that could maybe not match the Dodgers, but they could be at least in the discussion. Ernie Clement, that guy is just raked in this postseason. Addison Barger, another guy that is a grinder. Alejandro Kirk, I understand he has his flaws, but that guy's coming with big hits in this postseason. More so in the Yankee series, but he's also been in the middle of some of these rallies. Andres Jimenez, that guy, as a 9-hitter, hit 2 big home runs in Seattle, also could sacrifice runners over when you get to the bottom of the lineup. That set up that inning for Springer to hit that home run. That guy's a gamer. And the Dodgers, as we all know, they have gamers like that. And that lineup, listen, the Dodger lineup is better. I'd take the Dodger lineup in a heartbeat. But the Blue Jays, they come close to matching it. Now, of course, nobody's going to come close to Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. Because even if you put Springer, Lucas, Vladdy, yeah, I mean, you can't compare. I mean, if you're going to rank the top 6 players, it's going to be in some way, and this would be the order, I'd have to say. Ohtani. And in fairness, I'll put Vladdy second, although you could argue that. Because you could put Freeman second and maybe Vladdy third, and then Betts fourth. And then, Springer, and then Lucas he's at the bottom. That's not a knock. I mean, those are Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers that we're talking about here. So Lucas is not going to be a part of that, if you ask me. But I will do, on the podcast tomorrow, I'll have a prediction. I got to save it, people. I got to save it for the podcast. And I'll go into some storylines now. To me, one of the more fascinating storylines about this that I understand is going to go under the radar because, and maybe it won't, who knows, but I haven't heard a lot about over the last couple of days, is Don Mattingly. Not only does he make it to his first World Series, but now he's going up against a team that he used to manage. And yes, I understand he's not the manager of the Blue Jays, but I find that fascinating for a guy who's never been to a World Series and has an opportunity to win his first ring. And we know how, in these parts, Don Mattingly was a god. And now that he gets there as a bench coach, and I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans, although this is a World Series that they don't even want to watch. They're sick of the Dodgers, and rightfully so. No offense, Bio, and listen, I got nothing against the Dodgers. They don't bother me by any means, but there are people that don't want to see them win. And then the Yankee fan, they're going to look at the Blue Jays. Oh, well, they beat us, and they're in our division. We don't want to see them win. But I'm sure, gun to their heads, they're going to want to, forgive me for the descriptive analogy, but yeah, they'd rather see the Blue Jays win. Now, if it was Red Sox Dodgers, which they saw in 2018, of course, they'd rather watch the NFL. But I'm sure they'd rather see Toronto win as opposed to seeing LA win. But that is one. And number two, I think, which is also a big storyline, is Dodgers going back-to-back, which we haven't seen since the Yankees of the late 90s. And that's the first storyline when you think about it. I just threw the Mattingly scenario in there because he did manage the team. Now, albeit it was a long time ago. When was his last year there? I think it was 10 years ago. Yeah, after that Mets series in 2015 in the division series. because once Joe Torre left, what was that, after 2000? And Bio could back me up on this. Did Torre leave after 2010 or maybe 2009? I know he managed the 08 team. That was when the Dodgers played the Phillies in the championship series. But yes, I'm trying to replay that in my head right now. Yeah, I think it was 2010 he may have left after that season, and then that's when Manley took over. But back-to-back, of course. And the other thing is that Blue Jay pitching going to stack up against the Dodger pitching? You're going to see Blake Snell and Yamamoto games 1 and 2. Right now, if I had to guess who your starters are for game 1. Now, it's interesting. You saw Chris Bassett pitch that 1 inning there on Monday night, and I wonder if and Bo Bichette's going to be back in the lineup too. That's another guy who's a gamer, and add some length to that lineup. So you got to consider that as well. Almost forgot about that. And yeah, I don't think they have the starting pitchers for. Let me just pull that up just quick. But when you have Snell, who's been a beast this postseason, and Yamamoto, from his last start, he pitched a complete game. How I look at it is that, and right now it's undecided for the Blue Jays, but I would think your game 1 starter is going to be Kevin Gausman. I mean, and he pitched any other day too. It's got to be Gausman. And if Bassett is healthy, do you pitch Bassett game 2? Or do you pitch? I would think you probably pitch Yee Savage game 2, only because you don't want to pitch Dodger Stadium. Let's say if they're down 2-0, or even if it's 1-1. And you'd only hope it's 1-1. But if they're down 2-0, you can't put that guy on the mound. I mean, forget about it. That spotlight's going to be too bright for him, if you ask me. And that's going to be the third storyline, if you ask me. This series has to 1,000%. And I think the Blue Jays need to get this first game, if you ask me. Because if the Dodgers get the first game, I think they're going to get game 2. And that pitching matchup for game 2 is going to be enormous. Because if Yee Savage is going to pitch that game, he's going to face pressure. I understand it's in his building, unlike being at Chavez Ravine. But that's where it's going to be interesting for John Schneider, the manager, on whether or not do you put Bassett, the veteran, there game 2 because you have to win that game? Or do you say, to hell with it, I'm going to pitch Yee Savage and maybe Bassett coming out of long relief? Now, obviously, I'm not the manager. I do not know. But with Snell and Yamamoto, if they're going to be on their game, that pitching staff, that's what the Mariner pitching staff stacked up better if they face the Dodgers in the World Series. And right now, I don't know. And that's why Toronto, listen, if they lose game 1, I could see them. They have a bit of a better offense, more balanced. Like I said, they have more of those gamers than the Mariners do. But if they lose game 1, game 2 is an absolute must. And I think if the series is going to have any juice, they have to win game 1. Because then people will tune in to watch game 2 Saturday night instead of whatever college football game is on. And they'll rally around that. They'll say, oh, wait, I got to see what's going to happen here. And then, of course, you also have the Ohtani situation where people want to talk about Ohtani and his last performance. If the good sports fan, the baseball fan will be there no matter what. But the good sports fan and even the casual sports fan, if they're like, oh, World Series, oh, Ohtani, oh, hey, let's turn it on. Let's see what's happening. It'd be better if they trail. Game 1 on a Friday night, not a great sports night in a sense where, a lot of people are out. They want to go out to, let off some steam after work, whatever. Yeah, you can go to a bar, watch the game, what have you. But it's not like a perfect TV night. Sunday, Monday, and I understand you have the NFL, which is going to swallow it up. But how I look at it is, if the Blue Jays win that game 1, the good sports fan will come back to see game 2. If the Dodgers win game 1, they're going to be like, oh boy, here we go, Dodgers off and running. And they probably will tune in to see game 2. But yeah, it's no guarantee. And that's what I mean about the Ohtani thing, because Ohtani, you think is going to pitch either game 3 or game 4. But if this World Series is going to have any type of spunk, intrigue, etc., the series has to go back to LA 1-1. And for Toronto to go up 2-1. Now, if LA goes up 3-2 back to Toronto, hey, you live with that. But if you really want to have ratings and peak, now you want to have Toronto going back 3-2. That's when it's really going to be juicy. So that's the only way I look at this World Series, if it's going to have any type of buzz. If Toronto plays them in front, if they win games 1, 3, and 5 as a big underdog, they'll be good. Can Toronto win the series? I think they can. But to me, it's going to be the rotations. Now, you know who I'm going to pick to win anyway. I said the Dodgers are going to win, but it's just a matter of how many games, which you're going to have to listen to the podcast tomorrow. But to me, that pitching staff, that's a big storyline. The Dodgers, I mean, if you're going to pitch Ohtani in game 4, I mean, what more do you need to know? They're going to pitch a bullpen game probably in game 4. And think about this. A year ago, the Dodgers were pitching bullpen games in game 4. Yeah, because game 5, they had Jack Flaherty. So more on that tomorrow. You get the full scope. And I'll touch on some of the storylines, of course. I'll elaborate and expound on it. But I'll get into some other things tomorrow on the podcast when it comes to the World Series. So that's what you have the baseball. Before I turn to the NFL, let me just see. Is anything happening right now in sports that I should know about? Oh, well, there you go, Val. Yeah, Tony Vitello finalizing Giants deal in Major League Baseball first. Yeah, the Tennessee coach. What, because he's a college coach? Now he's going to be his first time Major League Baseball? And yeah, I don't know why they went to – yeah, I don't know why they would even think about or why they went to college to get a coach as opposed to maybe some bench coach or minor leagues. What is this? Shador not getting starter sales. NFL, what is this? Are they getting backlash over this? Oh, God, do I have to talk about this now? Wait, hold on. I consider Super Bowl halftime. Oh, because our current leader of the free world had come out and said some things about that. And then Goodell, it's carefully thought through. I'm not sure we've ever selected. This is about the NFL reconsidering putting Bad Bunny at the halftime Super Bowl. And I guess our leader, oh, here we go. I got to, and this is sports, people. So, all right, so before you start thinking, oh boy, here goes Jay Reels. No. If politics is going to intertwine with sports, I got a comment or two to say about this. And I'm going to segue to the NFL in a second. So anyway, the point of the matter is that the NFL is not going to reconsider Bad Bunny as far as the Super Bowl halftime show based on comments that our president said. And I think, what is this? In an interview on conservative news network Newsmax, said he had never heard of Bad Bunny. I don't know who he is. I don't know why they're doing it. It's like crazy. And then they blame it on some promoter they hired to pick up entertainment. That's a knock to Jay-Z, of course. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And listen, the NFL is as bulletproof as anything on the planet. You could put Teletubbies at halftime and people are going to watch that. I'm sorry. The NFL is bulletproof. So it doesn't matter. And yet, please, you mean to tell me that the president, he's heard of any of these groups? They wouldn't even know these groups if they played in the front lawn, which he's demolishing, by the way. I'm sure you heard about the ballroom. Not that I could care less, but yeah, those people, they could be performing right there in the new ballroom, and he couldn't pick them out. So what does it matter? I mean, please. Yeah, and listen, I understand he's got power, this and that, but he's going up against the NFL. NFL, no. As much as I do not like Roger Goodell, he's not going to capitulate by any means. All right, let me get to the NFL here too. All right, here we go. I got some comments here. Vladislav, you're going to have to go back and listen to the first hour and 15 minutes. I talked all NBA. That's right. If you didn't, let me see. What time was your comment? 1:22. So for the first hour and 15 minutes, it's all NBA. And soup to nuts. The guys in the room, they could tell you the same thing. So once this is done, if you want to go back, rewind, I'll talk about it. And of course, you can leave a comment. I just had to put that out there. Let's see. Let's go back. Oh, and Cole was all over it. So look at that. Cole, you the man. Giants hired, Tennessee baseball coach. I don't know if Val's still in the room. Tony, but yeah. And I guess that's a big hire from a standpoint of picking a college coach. I would have walked Springer since one. Yeah, absolutely, Tatsuya. I'm with you 1,000% on that. 100%. Not even option. No, it's again, Nathan Lucas is the next guy up. If Vladdy was up next, I understand you'd have to pitch to him, but Munoz should have pitched instead of Bizardo. Yeah, and there was a lot of people that thought he should have came in there 7th inning to get 8 outs. I know it's a lot to ask for, but yeah, and Bizardo pitched 2 innings the day before. Yeah, to me that was terrible. You could have. Yeah, you know what? You're right about that, Tatsuya. You could have brought in Bizardo at that point. Springer will forever be a cheater. Dodger fans will never forget the Houston trash can. Yeah, trash throws. I like that bio. I like that. It's pretty good. Yeah, listen. But the only argument I have to that bio is this. Games 2 and Game 7 in your building. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Marwin Gonzalez hit a 2-run homer in the 9th inning in Game 2? And then Game 7, which I believe Springer did it a home run in, they jumped out to like a 5-0 lead. And I understand that was, who was the starter that night? Was it, don't tell me, the Met killer? Don't tell me. I know you're probably posting it right now. I know you're doing it. Wait, you Darvish. Yeah, and Darvish was terrible in that game. I mean, oof. But I hear you, Bio. I know you're a great fan, and you have every reason to feel that way. Absolutely. But the thing is that I could see, and listen, Game 5, no excuses. They laid off all those sliders by Clayton Kershaw. That was a joke, big time. But Games 2 and Game 7 in your building, you lost, and there were no. I'm sure there were no trash cans then, but I understand. I definitely do. Let's see. Oh, Tatsuya, you're the man. Give me the Blue Jays. Can't hear another series of Ohtani idolizing. Yeah, I hear you, James. I hear you, brother. Thank you, Tatsuya, for that. So it was 2010, so that's when Mattingly took over. Ohtani is no Michael Jordan. Jordan would have brought Super Bowl numbers to the NBA Finals. See, that's the thing. That's what, like I just mentioned before, if Ohtani, especially on the night that he pitches, and now this would be theater. Imagine if Ohtani pitches Game 4 and they're down 2-1. I would sign for that big time in blood, because let me see what the rating would be like then. If the rating is going to be like 12 million, that's a joke. The World Series ratings last year were, I think, on average like 16 million, which for baseball, that is huge. Because look at the numbers in the Arizona-Texas World Series. Look at the numbers even prior to that with Philly and Houston. And I know Houston was on the ropes there when they were down 2-1. That was the no-hit game in Game 4. World Series ratings, they average anywhere between like 10 and 12 million. But with Ohtani there, those suckers should be minimum 15 million. And I'm going to keep a big eye on that. And I understand you have streaming and all that, but yeah, no. Yes, Fishing Angel. Have a great day yourself. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Fishing Angel. I don't know if you're still around. Even if the Lions make the Super Bowl, I'm not watching. Hey, listen, you have every right. I hear you, Cole. Listen, there's a lot of the Super Bowl halftimes I could care less too. And to be honest, over the last few years, I've watched it, but I watch it for the game. I don't watch it for the halftime. To me, it's about the game. Job, Jay. So, oh no, that's all right, Vlado. That's fine. I understand you're working. I know you have a very busy profession, so please, no worries. Yes, you too, Fishing Angel. Great day, obviously, as well. Right on back. Fishing Angel saying a great day. Same day to you. Uh-oh. Anyone who's against that? Listen, like I said, Teletubbies could be, or I mean, they could have the Sesame Street or Disney on Ice. They're gonna put an ice skating rink on there. I could care less. It's not gonna, whatever. You could turn on the Puppy Bowl at halftime if it bothers you. Val, what do you feel about your new manager? But I hear you, Bio. I'm with you. Without a doubt. I mean, if everybody's gonna get wrapped up on this, that, whatever, so on and so forth, it's like, come on, seriously. I mean, I must leave the life thing because there's nowhere. Hey, listen, Cole, you have every right, man. Hey, listen, that's how you feel. You know, whatever. Oh no, now we're gonna get to a debate about this. Yeah, I mean, listen. Am I going to unpack this? I guess when we get closer to the Super Bowl. Yeah, no, he's nah. I disagree with that. I disagree with that, Cole. He is not. He has his reasons, but hey, we could debate back and forth on that. I mean, the guy is no. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it could be Carolina and Jacksonville. I know. I'm trying to think like other teams I could put there, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still going to get a huge rating no matter what. I mean, NFL. Yeah, yeah. All right, we can go back and forth on this. I'm not going to get into a hotly contested debate when it comes to that. So let me move us along here. NFL Week 8 schedule because hey, we got 20 minutes here. Let me just pull that up real quick. NFL. What is the game tomorrow? I don't even know. Schedule. Your Thursday night contest, and I should know this based on Minnesota at the Chargers. That's not a bad game. But your games this weekend, Miami and Atlanta. Jets at Bengals, Cleveland at New England. It's not looking good. Giants at Philly. Talk about a fan base that hasn't slept since Sunday. Giants, that is. Buffalo at Carolina. It's not bad, but Chicago at Baltimore. San Francisco at Houston. Tampa, New Orleans. Dallas at Denver. Tennessee at Indy. Green Bay at Pittsburgh. Washington at Kansas City. The NFL slate, to put it bluntly, people, sucks. And your buys are Detroit, Vegas, the Rams, Arizona, Seattle, Jacksonville. Might as well watch something else Sunday. Oh, that slate is terrible. Green Bay, Pittsburgh, I understand that Aaron Rodgers against his former team. Dallas, Denver. Maybe there's a couple of games. Yeah, this is brutal. This is bad. And that's good because I can move on to other things when it comes to that. Let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, Bunny get monster numbers. I know, yeah. Let me see. Turning halftime. We'll draw more numbers. Will it? I don't know. I do not know about that. I'm sure there's going to be people rallying around to watch that, but I mean, I don't know. I can't say here or there. Well, the thing about that, Fishing Angel, is when you have Jay-Z, who's, and of course, this is in light of what happened years ago with Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be picked to any future Super Bowl halftimes. In fact, I could probably even predict whomever's going to be the hot artist next year. And when you think about that, because last year it was Kendrick Lamar and he had the top song of the year. And then, yeah, obviously with Bad Bunny, he's the biggest streaming artist right now. And then whoever's going to be the biggest streaming artist next year, I don't know. Is it? I couldn't even tell you. Who knows? It could be a K-pop band for all I know. I mean, that could be the next thing because K-pop is huge and they get big numbers. So, and again, it's who cares? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I know. The wife said I've been dying to get Taylor Swift, but even if they put Taylor Swift on, Taylor Swift could be in my living room or in the backyard. The old draw the blinds. Not watching that. And I know you say you'd rather have Jelly Roll than Bad Bunny. And listen, I don't want to use that term again, but yeah, listen, I couldn't name one of his songs. His music does nothing for me, so I don't know what to say. Just being honest. Tom Verducci had a stat about them facing curveballs from Kershaw not swinging at 25 curveballs. Wait a minute. Was that you're talking about game? Wait, why did that pop up? You're talking about game 5 of the 17 World Series. Is that right, Bio? Because I know there was like 34 sliders. Oh, it could have been 25 curves. Yeah, either one. But yeah, that was terrible. Prediction: Vladdy will have a bigger impact on Ohtani in the World Series. Ooh, that's a bold prediction. Ooh, that's a bold prediction. I wonder. I don't know. It's that's good. That's a good debate. I'm sure Bio would definitely. Hey, it's Cole. J Reel's podcast for Super Bowl halftime show. Yes. You know what? That'd be awesome. Wheels turning. I know. Yeah, maybe I'll do a live just through the phone, though. I'm not going to do anything like whatever. But you planted a seed there, Cole. I see what you're doing. I appreciate that. You planted a seed. And if that's the case, imagine that. J-Will's podcast outdoes Super Bowl halftime. Jeez. If that were only true, forget it. Or better yet, how about, and not that I'm anything close to a celebrity, how about a celebrity death match? Or I can't even say celebrity. How about me and Stephen A in the middle of a ring somewhere? That's right. And it could aggregate that if you want. Stephen A. I like the Knicks to go to the finals. Oh, God, I hope he eats his words. And I got nothing against the guy, too. I don't want you to think I have or whatever for Stephen A. But he comes out with like the stupidest things and his credibility and, ugh. All right, well, let me go back up here. Hold on. That's a good one, Tatsuya. I like that. Still more. Oh, James, that. Ooh. Why is your coach going for 2 at 19-0 is beyond me. Oh, coaching malpractice. He's chasing points while I have a 3-score lead. Oh. Taylor Swift next year. And listen, if Taylor Swift should have been this year. I don't want to say should have, but because, I mean, who am I to come out there, like, pick which artist? You know what they should do next year? And it'll never happen, but how about Luciano Pavarotti? Is he, or how about Andrea Bocelli? I can't even say Pavarotti. Pavarotti's no longer with us, is he not? Let me make sure I got that right. I don't want that get aggravated or aggregated. Therefore, aggravating. Hold on a second. Yes, he did. A long time ago, in fact. And I thought so. I was thinking more Andrea Bocelli. Not that I'm Italian by any means, but yeah, put Andrea Bocelli at lifetime. I could care less. Seriously. Even in the years when they had Springsteen at halftime, and I think he did Super Bowl 40. Oh, the Rolling Stones did Super Bowl 40 halftime. That was Steelers Seahawks. I didn't watch that. And I don't mind. I like, Stones. Listen, they're a classic rock band. And I love a lot of their, a lot of their songs. But you think I'm going to watch that? I'm geared up on a football game. Just another way to whatever. Doesn't matter. Well, like have David Copperfield do the halftime and do magic tricks. I mean, please. If people make such a big stink about it, it's like, come on, seriously? Right. Either trying to change the channel, watch Puppy Bowl, watch J Reels. It's all good. All right, enough of that. Let me move on here because maybe I'm getting a little delirious. Where am I at here? Taylor Swift, what a call right here. Cool. Yeah, J Reels podcast. Yes, I'm all for that. Yes, for sure. Thank you, Fishing Angel. Thank you, Cole. I love the support. And obviously appreciate you and Fishing Angel. I'd be a trainer and cornerman. Yes. Oh, that'd be great. I can't stand going for 2. I feel you, James. That was terrible. Dart and Scat. Yes, they are. I like them both. Scat for sure. Pavarotti. I know, Vlado. My apologies. I know. I wanted to say Andrea Bocelli, and he's been. I know 2007. I just looked that up too. So, all right. After choking to the Broncos, that and Scott took a backseat to Swift and Kelsey. Yeah. Yeah. And the Chiefs, are they playing Monday night? That's right. I was trying to think who they're playing this week. Tatsuya, that was a good one. Before the extra week was added to the season, the Super Bowl was on my birthday. Like, yeah, I know they were. January 28th. I remember Super Bowl 30. How can I forget that? Steelers, Cowboys. And then I remember Super Bowl 23, Niners, Bengals, the second one. My dream halftime show was Taylor Swift singing the Kelsey breakup song. That'd be good. There's still time because obviously she's not going to perform till the year after, or if she does perform, I don't even know. Yeah, it's funny. Good stuff, Tatsuya. All right, so that's NFL. Let me see what's quickly with the college schedule. What do I got here? What do I have? All right, what do we have? Anything interesting here? I should know this off the top of my head, but I've been wrapped up with the baseball and the NBA and doing all that other stuff. All right, Bio, UCLA, Indiana. Upset special? Now it's at Bloomington, so who knows? Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Ole Miss tries to bounce back after that loss. What else? Alabama, South Carolina. I would have said that could be a dangerous game, but now South Carolina's just there. Missouri at Vandy, good game. Wisconsin, Oregon. Texas A&M, LSU. If LSU didn't lose last week, I would have looked at that game as, I mean, that's still a big game because they got to go to LSU's. That could be an upset. Of course, Cole, Michigan State. I know that you're going to be salivating for that. That's, of course, is in East Lansing. Yeah, not a great college schedule. Got a couple of good games, but nothing like last week. Last week had a bunch of big games. So college is looking like the NFL, pretty light, I might add. And then lastly, with the NHL, hold on a second. Did I pull up the college thing? No, I did not. I still had the halftime. There we go. College. All right, so I guess I could pivot to this before I sign off. NHL 2 weeks in. The Rangers scored a goal at home. Remember, they had not scored a goal in the first 3 home games, 180 minutes, and they had to go 7.5 minutes. I think it's 7:19 to be exact, for them to break the all-time record for having the biggest drought to start the season at home. Well, they scored a goal 57 seconds in by Artemi Panarin against the Wild 2 nights ago. And then what happened? They didn't score a goal the rest of the game. So it's like, oh, we got to make sure we get it out of the way. And then after that, it's like, all right, we could put our feet up as they lose to the Wild 3-1. So I thought that was funny. But you had Brad Marchand go back to Boston last night for the first time as a member of the Florida Panthers, as the Panthers won. And both were mired in 4-game losing streaks. So now the Bruins are in a 5-game losing streak while Florida snapped that. And, that's what we got with the NHL. I know Carolina's 5-0-0. They're the only team, I believe, that's now – hold on, let me just pull that up here real quick. I believe they're the only team in the sport that – no, they did lose. All right, what did I missed out on that. And the Devils have won 5 in a row. Who did Carolina lose to the other day? Oh, at Vegas. Yeah, why did I miss that? So they were the last clean, undefeated team. And I say clean because you do have Colorado that's 5-0-2. So they have 2 overtime losses as well as Vegas now. But Carolina was 5-0-0 before they lost there the other night to Vegas, who I guess you could still say they do not have a loss in regulation similar to Colorado to start off the year. So that's a good thing. And as far as I know, Val, if you're still there, they have not won a game yet, 0-4-2. As San Jose is in my neck of the woods, they lost to the Islanders last night. They'll play at the Garden tomorrow, literally a train ride from where I live, against the Rangers, and then they'll play the Devils on Friday. So, yeah, that is your NHL, and I think that's going to be it, people. Let me look for some comments real quick before I bid adieu. Hold on a second. Dream halftime show, that was Lions lost in San Francisco Conference Championship game was that was a bad one. That was rough. Yeah, we talked about that one, Cole. That was rough. Who remembers in Living Color halftime show in Living Color? Yes, I do remember that. That was what year was that? Yeah, that was before, because the NFL went to Fox in 94, and in Living Color, I think was done by then. Because in Living Color had started, I think, in 88, and it probably went to about 93-ish. But I remember in Living Color had a halftime show. I do recall that. I forgot what year that was, though. Bio in Living Color has that one jam monster personality that was huge at the times. No, I hear what you're saying. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I read that correctly. It was huge at the time. See what they do now. Right. No, absolutely. And I do remember. Okay. Yes, Red Wings have been hot. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even mention them. And who do they play? Let me pull that up real quick. Schedule. Oh, they're at Buffalo tonight, which they probably should win. Oh, and then they play the Islanders tomorrow. So it'll be in my neck of the woods tomorrow. Interesting. So they'll be in New York, upstate, and then, of course, here in the tri-state area come tomorrow. All right, what's this? I'd love to hear J-Ro's halftime show while my Rams are playing in the Super Bowl. Hey, well, you know what? Since Cole planted the seed, that's something that I will consider. because, yeah, what the hell? We can recap the first half. We could talk about, yes, you know what? Then I gotta come through. That's the case. And you know what? I'm gonna have to do that. Now I may have to do that. Let me see, depending on where I'm gonna watch the game. Yeah, obviously it's too soon to know where I'm gonna watch, but at the same time, was it your wish is my command there, Cole? We'll definitely talk about that. Yes, and look at that. If UCLA could beat Indiana, then I root for that. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna follow that game big time then. Now, of course, the Celtics aren't gonna do anything this year. Well, they're gonna win maybe 42, 43 games, if that. But you guys are the best, man. I mean it. And you know that I say that each and every week. My regulars, my diehards, my kooks. That's what I'm gonna call you guys, my kooks. I know it doesn't have a ring. It doesn't have to ring a bell. It's not like I don't know, like my army or what's some of the other nicknames that they have, like the Beehive for Beyonce or whomever else. But anyway, I'll quit babbling then. But no, I love the back and forth. And hey, listen, man, it's all good. And also, the only reason why I brought that up because I saw with the whole thing. It's like, wait, NFL is thinking of reconsidering that. So anyway, but enough of that. We know where we all stand on that thing, on that topic. But as always, you know what tomorrow is? Podcast pregame, 9:30. We'll talk about what's happening tonight in sports. Little segue into the weekend, NFL, obviously the World Series, etc. Any last thoughts from the chat room? You know I got you. So please leave a comment. Or for those who are listening to the replay, you could also leave a comment back. As a matter of fact, Vlado, I'm sure you may disagree with my NBA Finals prediction. Oh, you may like it now that I think about it. You may actually like one of the teams that I picked, and that's my hint if you put 2 and 2 together. Yes, of course, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. Latest edition of the podcast coming tomorrow. And you know what would have been great here? Brent. And that would have been interesting, too, because even though he's not a Blue Jay fan, but you would have had Bio LA and you would have had Brent Canada. Not to say they would have gone at it, but that would have been fun. Unless that's him just now. I see a comment that just popped up. Of course, thanks for all stopping by live of the replay, as you all know. And let me see what this last comment is. Nah, it's all good, Cole. You know that. Without question. Oh, please. Without question. And that's the good thing, because at least we could have healthy debates. At least we could talk about it. I'm not going to fly off the handle. I'm not going to get crazy. Now, and that goes for anything. You could tell me, not that you would tell me this, but you could say like, oh, your Mets are a joke. Your Mets are this, Mets that. And I'll be the first one to say, yeah, they are. I'm not going to take any offense to that. They can say, oh, the Steelers are old. Aaron Rodgers needs a walker. I'd be like, yeah. So that's a good thing. And that's the one thing I love about our little community is that we don't, even if it got a little bit off the rails when it comes to sports or certain topics, that nobody's going to take any personal offense, and nobody's coming out on a personal level to be like, hey, you suck, or, dropping F-bombs, F you, this and that, where it's like, hey, come on, do we have to get, and I would regulate that with the quickness, because I don't want that. We come here to have some fun, talk sports, the toy department of life, about what we love, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, Vlado. Okay, well, you're half right. I'm not going to tell you which, but you have to go back and check for yourself. So with that being said, people, you know the drill. Thanks so much for stopping by. And this is something that I've been doing for quite some time here with the live streams. I love it. I love the banter back and forth. I love the participation. You guys are the best. I think highly of you all. And with that being said, in the blood, in the DNA, if you don't know, now you know, especially for those who are watching for the first time. Thank you so much. And Cole, what do you got here? Hold on. Not at all. That's not needed. All opinions go sports. That's right. That's why. Much love. You know that from yours truly to you and to everybody else that's chimed in throughout the course of this afternoon. Yes. Good day to you. I can't even speak here. Good day to you. Good day to everybody else. As I like to say before I sign off, that when it comes to sitting in front of this microphone and camera, I'll deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The J-Real live stream always comes correct, direct, live, and in full effect. So tomorrow, podcast pregame, podcast tomorrow as well. But from the South Bronx, South Beach, South Central, yes, love from Serbia and love to you back there, Vlado. From the South Bronx, South Beach, South Central, South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday hump day. And until then, on the flip, baby.